Okay, thank you. Welcome to the Licensing Board meeting. Before we commence with the board business this morning, I'd like to acknowledge the sad announcement of the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II and ask board members and to the public joining us today to hold a minute's silence, commencing now. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Now we'll start the meeting with any apologies.
Convener, there's no apologies.
Okay, thank you. On declarations, I have a declaration on item 10. I have a relation who works at these premises, so I will be handing over to the Vice Convener on item 10. Is there any other declarations?
Convener, can you confirm you'll be leaving the meeting for these two items?
Leaving the meeting for items 10 and 11. Thank you. Is there any other declarations of interest? Don't see any hands. We have the minutes from the last meeting. Does anyone have any issues with the minutes from the last meeting? No? No, thank you. We're now moving on to the new premises, the wee shop in Forfar. Is the applicant here to talk on the wee shop in Forfar?
Yes, Convener, the applicant's in the meeting and there is no objections to this application.
Okay. Does the applicant want to talk on her application? Sorry, I'm not seeing if she wants to talk on it. Yeah, because obviously it's a different premises, isn't it?
Do you want to unmute yourself? Ms. Stotts, do you want to unmute yourself so you can speak?
Oh, sorry. Hello.
Morning.
Morning. I try to talk. Okay. My name is Brigida. So I running my premises 4150 East High Street in Forfar, and would like to apply for license for alcohol. Before I got the license for alcohol on 94 Castle Street, but because the landlord sold the premises, I have to move out, and I found another one. So that's why I'm applying for again for license for alcohol.
Okay, that's unfortunate that you had to move. We've seen the layout plan. Does anyone have any questions? Any hands up at the moment? I think the application is pretty straightforward, and I don't have any problems with the application. Does anyone want to ask anything or have anything they want to say on the premises? Councillor Whiteside.
Thanks, Convener. I would agree. It's really straightforward, and I would move that we approve this application.
That's great, thank you. Yes, I think that's a really good plan that you've done, and you've done great in such a short time, and wish you well with your new venture. And
thank you very much.
We're in Forfar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Next on the agenda is appeal to the Sheriff Court. Does any of the officers want to talk on this paper at the moment? No? Okay, thanks. Before we go on,
I would just, sorry, convener, just want to note the report on number 5, the recommendations.
Yeah, I note the report on the recommendations. And before we move on to item 6 on the agenda, I would just like to say that, bear with me 1 minute. I think we have an objection statement before.
Sorry, Councillor Durno. Just with regard to the current item that you're dealing with, which is agenda item number 4. Do the rest of the board members note the recommendation? Sorry, it's not 4. Apologies. The next one, 5.
Yeah. We all agree on the paper that was present us for us.
So the recommendations are at 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Are they noted by the board? Just for completeness.
Right, thank you. No, thank you. Before we move on to item 6, I just want to say that the board have the power to accept late objections and presentations where there are good reasons. In the case, the board must consider whether it's in the interest of justice to postpone or adjourn the hearing. If the late objector is present at the hearing, the board may allow the person to state the reasons for the lateness, then having had regard to the view of the applicant, decide whether to allow the late objection or not. Mrs. Angus.
Convener, just to let you be aware that we've got Mrs. Hood, the agent, in the call today, along with Mr. Severite, the applicant for DeVito's. We also have objector, Ms. Harrison, that's in the meeting as well. And as you've pointed out, there is an auxiliary letter from Police Scotland, and the board will have to decide that matter first. Excuse me, board, I've got someone waiting in the lobby, a Gary Miller, and I'm not sure who he is. Could you just bear with us till we allow him in and I find out who he is?
Miss Anderson, I can clarify that. That is the community sergeant for Arbroath.
Right, thank you.
Him and Dave Gibson were attending today, but I know Dave Gibson's been called away temporarily, so Gary's replacing him just last minute.
That makes sense. No bother, I've let him into the meeting. Okay, convener, if you want to proceed with the procedure at number 3.
Right, thank you. Do we have a copy of the objector's letter at the moment? The late objection?
No, I think, convener, I think we have to advise board members that there is a late objection, and we have to ask Police Scotland the reasons, if there is good reasons for this letter being late.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you very much. Police Scotland, can you, Gordon, could you please let us know what the late objection is and why it is late? Thank you.
Councillor Durno, just before the police speak, sorry, apologies. Members shouldn't be made aware of the content of the objection before making any decision on this. They simply should be aware of any good reasons as to why the objection is late. So just to clarify that before you begin.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Hudson. Okay, it's did you have the floor if you want to talk at the moment?
Okay, thank you. In terms of paragraph 3, brackets 2 to 1 of the 1982 Act, allows licensing authority to entertain a late objection or representation if they are satisfied that there is sufficient reason why it is made in the time required under subsection, that subparagraph, apologies. Police Scotland's reasoning for the submission of further information is that the information contained within the subsequent letter of objection or ancillary, as you've referred to it as being, was not available on the 20th of May 2022 when we submitted our original objection, and these incidents concerned within the letter dated the 7th of September 2022 have occurred after this date. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would the board like to...
Councillor, sorry, Councillor Durno, can you ask Mrs. Hood her view.
Mrs. Hood, would you like to hear from the objector if you have any details? You're on mute just now. You're on mute. You want to take your mic on.
Thank you. I do apologise I didn't spot it. I don't know what's wrong with my glasses. If the police have a further objection, I'm going to have time to consider this objection and to obviously amend whatever it is I was going to say today. I do think that it would have been courteous of the police to make sure that the objection came in within a reasonable time frame to give one an opportunity to move this matter forward. And that's courteous not just to the board, but also to my client and me. However, these things are occasionally sent to try us, but if the police are stating they have something that is of importance to go before the board, I would like an opportunity for it to be sent to me and this matter to be adjourned to the next possible hearing.
Okay, thank you for that. Would the board like to go with the adjournment for the next meeting, or would they, sorry, Tina, I'll let you come in there.
Sorry, Councillor Durno. So the matters before the board at present are whether or not to allow the late objection, if there's sufficient good reason for that to be allowed, and thereafter as a supplementary, Mrs. Hood has made a motion to the board that there's a deferral for consideration at the next board meeting. And I would just highlight to members that in terms of fair notice and in terms of fairness in these procedures, that's a matter for them to determine when thinking about the deferral. So there's two matters before you.
Okay. Do you have any views from the board members at this point? Whether they would like to defer this till we have seen the objector's notice, or whether they would like to have an adjournment today, or what they want to do adding this.
I have convener the email set up on email to be sent to board members. Should board members feel that there's good reason to see this late objection, I also have an email set up to Mrs. Hood also with the late objection, should there be good reason to see it.
Perhaps it would assist board members to make the first decision. Is there good reason, board members, for the late objection to be received?
Yeah, Councillor Meakin and then Councillor Whiteside.
Sorry, convener, was that me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you can hear me. My IT seems to be a bit this morning. In my opinion, there is good reason to allow the late objection on the first part. So that's my comment on part one.
Councillor, can you say why you believe there's good reason?
Because the information wasn't available at the time.
Thank you.
Councillor Whiteside.
Thank you, convener. Yeah, I would agree with that. That there seems to be information that's come to light that wasn't available at the time that we originally heard this matter.
Okay. It's up to the members today whether. Oh, sorry, Mrs. Hood, your microphone is switched off again.
Sorry, forgive me. I was caught somewhat off the back foot, and the legislation quoted by the police this morning is the wrong legislation. It's civic government legislation, not Licensing Scotland Act legislation. Therefore, the request to you is actually incompetent because they have used the wrong legislation. And I think it's actually quite important that that is noted.
Thank you
So
for
we
that.
have to make a decision on the competence of this application by the police now. And I'm sorry, I was caught off foot and I've only just had the time to look it up.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Meakin.
Listening to Mrs. Hood, would it be possible for us to seek legal advice on that, whether it is or isn't the wrong reference?
Can we adjourn this? Is that possible for the live
I
stream?
can quote the legislation to you because I have it in front of me, and the legislation quoted is, according to the police officer, is Schedule 3(1) of the 1982 Act, which actually relates to applications for sexual sex shops rather than to licensing matters in terms of alcohol.
Okay, thank you for that, Mrs. Hood. Councillor Meehan.
Thank you, Mrs. Hood. However, we do have legal advice on the board, and I would like to, if it's okay, request some legal advice.
No,
I wonder,
trying to be helpful, and I apologise.
I wonder whether Sergeant to confirm. I must admit to this, and I was in the same position as Mrs. Hood. I didn't quite listen to that correctly and take it on board. So I wonder whether Sergeant Gordon can confirm whether that is indeed his position.
Apologies, Mrs. Hood's absolutely correct. I've picked up the wrong bit of legislation there. However, the board are still can accept late objections in respect if there is good reason. So is Police Scotland's reasoning for the submission of further information that the information contained with the subsequent ancillary letter of objection was not available on the 20th of May 2022 as the instance of concern had not occurred? So this is new information. Apologies that I did misquote the legislation at the start.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm just wondering if we can accept the objection at the moment. Ms. Magson, can you advise us regarding it is seemingly still an objection, but whether it's legally not to be presentable?
I think there was an error on the part of Sergeant Gordon. The board do have the power to accept late objections and representations where there are good reasons, which is what you have been addressed on now. Obviously, Mrs. Hood should be asked to come back and make any comment that she may have. Thereafter, I would suggest to members that you have a motion before you to accept this late objection, and you need to determine, perhaps again, whether there's good reason.
Okay, Ms. your microphone on, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Magston is quite correct. I think it is incumbent on the police to try to make sure they get the law right in general throughout this entire matter. My client's been ready to move forward today. We've gone through a challenging appeal, and I really fail to see why something else has to be put before you. However, if it is the board's decision that you will accept this late objection, then we will just have to deal with it. But I would stress that I do require to have an adjournment to give me a chance to consider the matters which the police are bringing before you today. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much. Mrs. Anderson, can the police objection be emailed over to the board members and Mrs. Hood, and can we have an adjournment to let people have time to have a look at the actual objection?
I have to come in. Oops.
Yeah, sorry. You're okay. You're on. You're on.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I will not be in a position to deal with a further on the hoof police objection, and I ask the board if they would kindly put this to the next meeting. I need to discuss matters with my client. If the police have thought something is worthy of putting before you, I need to check it out. I need to make sure the law is right. I need to make sure it applies to the premises, and I need to discuss it with my client. So I'm asking the board politely if I could possibly have this matter adjourned yet again to the next meeting of the licensing board. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Hood. Councillor Meehan?
While I agree that the late objection should be allowed, I would agree with Mrs. Hood that it's only reasonable that we adjourn the matter to allow Mrs. Hood and our client to actually take account of.
Yeah, I think probably it would need to be deferred though, Councillor Meehan, because Mrs. Hood's obviously in one place and the owner is actually in another place. So for them to confer, they would need to probably have a face-to-face meeting on this. Yeah, is that right, Mrs. Hood?
That's correct.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
I confirm that the late letter has been sent to all board members and Mrs. Hood, the agent.
Yeah, okay. I actually think that Mrs. Hood probably needs more time to discuss with her client on this one and not just to do a 5-minute sort of break for her to assess things. So if this could be deferred to the next board meeting, I'd be quite happy with that for everybody concerned.
Is the board in agreement with that, that be deferred to the next board meeting?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank you very much, convener and board members. I'm most grateful for the opportunity you've given me to consider this matter with my client.
Yep, thank you for coming to Mrs. Hood, and thank you for all your representation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you to Police Scotland as well. Thank you. Okay, right, we're moving on now. Let's just get we're kind of thrown a wee bit there because we're ahead of ourselves. We're on to item 7, delegated approvals. Okay, give everybody time to get your papers up. Okay, I'll just be with you in a minute as everybody get moved on. It's quite a big paper that we had before. Okay. Right, is everybody on item 7, delegated approvals now? Okay. Actually, item 8 is delegated as well.
That just for noting?
Yeah, for noting. And item 8 is delegated as well for noting. That agreed by everybody? And item 9 is delegated for everybody to approve. Thank you. And I will be moving over to Councillor Meehan now because we're moving on to item 10. So if you could just text me when you're finished with item 10, and
we'll give you a message, a Teams message when to rejoin the civic meeting because it'll be finished.
Right, thank
the licensing board.
See you in a minute. Thank you.
Okay, if you just wait till Councillor Durnell leaves the meeting. I think Janet's left, has she? Is her picture still there?
Yeah,
Vice
Fiona, Janet Hood has left, but she's obviously frozen.
Yeah. Vice Convener, do you wish to take the chair now?
Thank you. I'll be chairing for items 10 and 11. Firstly, I would ask that the board resolve that the public and press should be excluded from the meeting during considerations of items 10 and 11. This is to avoid the possible disclosure of sensitive information. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, if we could stop the live stream.